Hello everyone, check in for week 5 of AGEC 2020, Farm and Ranch Management. My goal in this class is to make you be more intentional and be better managers and leaders within your own organizations. And hopefully some of that is coming through. Probably restate that mission. Since we've gone through missions, maybe that'll hit home a little bit more about what I'm trying to do from my side of the screen. And but anyway, the check-in is a couple things. If you need some help, one thing I'd say, if you can avoid putting this class off until the last minute, Friday, 11 o'clock, and you're taking the quiz. Sometimes it happens. Life happens to everybody. And not disqualifying it or being unsympathetic towards that kind of direction. But as a manager and a leader, there's a lot more responsibility put on you so that, and I mean, this goes with running a family too. If you don't have a plan, then you can't implement plan D. And as you get more into life, if you're a little bit younger, you'll start realizing that the plan that you actually start off and say, this is the direction I'm going, much of the time is not fulfilled. But without that plan, you can't change it to pivot and move and do some things that you need to do within your business, within your family, and your life. So you can do those things a little more practically with some of the advice, and having the mission statement, automatically saying no. I think one of the most powerful things when it comes right down to it. And I think most of you look like maybe all of you have gotten that. And I sure appreciate the fact that you're either humoring me or you're actually picking up some things. And I'm just looking at this as a 61-year-old that has, I've had a lot of failures in business and in my personal life, just like many people. I've lived life, and many of you have done the same thing. So, but I've also intensely tried to be a better leader, be a better manager, be more organized. And when it comes right down to it, if you're hiring people or including more people within your organization, one of the number one things that they are looking for is more organization within the realm of their work. Because sadly, to a certain extent, it's just the way it is. Many people have a lot of chaos going on in their lives. So if they can come as a outlet of safety to your business, they can become more productive within the realm of your organization if you have a certain organizational structure that allows for that kind of a safety for your employees. They'll be happier. You'll be able to grow like you want to grow. You'll attract people. I know there's a lot to be said in these days where everybody's looking for help and they're short-handed. Well, in ag, we've been in that situation forever. Everybody says that it's hard to find good help. But if you're known as the person that is steady on course and does what they say they'll do and are truly a good and great leader, which is a skill you learn, then you'll actually attract people. It doesn't mean it won't be difficult to find the right people, but more people that have those kinds of skills, it'll be like a magnet. People will start asking if they can work for you. And when you see that starting to happen, it's like a miracle if you haven't had that. And I've gone through all phases of that before, where it was almost to the toxic side of things. So anyway, check-in video is supposed to be short. hopefully the net wealth statement. This is just a running balance sheet. We haven't covered really a balance sheet in this class unless you took my records class from last year, but hopefully you have a little understanding of what a balance sheet is. It goes right back to the accounting equation: assets plus liabilities equal net worth. And we're calling it net wealth on your personal side of things here, just so that you can track it. Now, I don't want you to, you need to learn this thing if you really want to take it and make it part of yourself. So it's going to take a little focus in the beginning, and I'm going to have you turn this thing in every month, at the end of each month. But it actually takes away from your productivity if you're constantly looking at, on a daily basis or an hourly basis, things like this. We want to just every month, we just put it together. It is what it is. And we take a look and say, oh, geez, we have a little dip this month in our net wealth. Or I see a little traction going on. We're on the upside. We've moved our net wealth up a little bit. And then, most effective people that use this as a tool will keep track of it from this day forward. And it's your own scorecard. It's not one to wear on your chest. It isn't something to go on social media and go, there's my net wealth or anything like that. It's all for you to keep track of that sort of thing. And I don't want it to be something that just takes over your life. We can become less effective by paying too much attention to this these kinds of things. But if we're aware of them in the background, it's one of those background things that we will become a more effective leader. Again, my premise, prove me wrong, and I'm perfectly willing to listen to anything you have to say on that line, is that if you want to hire a leader, for instance, if they don't have their personal ditty bag in order, then it's very difficult to transfer that situation to a business. So first of all, we got to take care of the personal side of things and make sure there's no chinks in your armor there, or lessen them. There's, again, life will happen, and that's one of the reasons that we put these things together. And finances are no different than any other part of your life. So run down on this really quick, just a little bit of a summary, and make sure that we know how to use this particular running tab of your balances and to automatically calculate your net wealth. I have the calculations all in here. Anything that is shaded, you don't add a number to, okay? Anything that is a color or shaded, you don't add to. We have these broken up into operations. Those would be the cash that you have on hand that are in maybe several accounts, checking, savings, and that sort of thing. Liquid assets are your investments, okay? And those would also be, these two things would be the same as your current assets, okay? Add them together. So operations are the checking and savings accounts, regular savings accounts. On the personal side, we might only have things in liquid assets that would be things like stocks and bonds. If you have any crypto that is in long term or a little bit long term, you don't intend to sell them, then that would be in the liquid assets or as well. Investments, all investments in there. Since many of you are already involved in business, you may have some cattle that would be sold that year. That would be in the liquid assets. You might have some horses that you're training that would go in here. You may have some other livestock, chickens, goats, anything like that that you're planning on selling would be in that particular asset group. liquid assets. But primarily, as you get a little bit older, at least we're going to impress upon you to do some investing into your future beyond what your business is. And those liquid assets, those are what we're looking for there. Okay? Illiquid assets, okay? Those are the things that produce income or you don't intend to sell, okay? That would be your residence. If you own your own house, you own your own land. If you have a cow herd that you don't plan on selling them, you're selling the product from them, the calves from them, or the progeny from them would be liquid assets versus an illiquid assets. Illiquid assets on your balance sheet, if we're looking at it from a business side of things, would be your fixed assets or your long-term assets. Those things that produce income or you don't intend to sell within the next year. Okay? And debt, we're not going to break it down into long-term versus current assets. We just want to put in all of our debt. That would be credit cards. That would be any accounts that we have coming due at the feed store or any other stores that we may owe. It would be anything, if we owe anything on our cattle, student loans, residential property that we have mortgages on, those kinds of things. Anything that we're indebted to will go on that part of the balance sheet. And many of you are fairly young in this, in your start with all this. So, I mean, if things don't look all that good, just say I just want you to keep telling yourself that if I take some of the proper steps, then I can get this trend headed in the right direction. And I have lots of potential. And if I were to look at any of yours, some are going to be way more than mine, more than likely. But most of you are probably going to say, well, these are small numbers. Well, you have to start somewhere. Okay? So anyway, a little bit of a refresher on the net wealth, and because we're going to use it throughout the whole semester, and I want to introduce you to it early. Okay, now this has gone on way too long. But this week we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to get out of the Dave Ramsey stuff. And I want you to just kind of, if you have to go back and watch some of those savings videos, do that. Or do some research on the internet on ways that you can do a better job of saving. And one of the things that we're going to talk about budgets later, and within this week, I want you to think about how you budget things. We're going to jump into the business side of things just for a little bit of relief from the personal side, so you can have a window into where we're headed. And I call it profit first, and I stole that from this guy that is going to introduce you to the concepts of profit first. And I'm going to go back to the saving module to explain this. Is that most people, that they find themselves in a financial wreck at my age or even a little younger, the reason for that is because they haven't prioritized through time some of the things. And we're saying savings is important. It's important to think about. It's important to budget for. And I want to add something to things as well. Is, when people get at the end of life, they typically say things like, I wish I'd given more. I wish I'd had a little bit more to give to my children and my grandchildren. Okay? And I'm going to keep it fairly simple. You can go beyond that. But those are the kinds of statements people actually make when they get a little bit older than I am. And so, through the financial planning and actions that we're going to go through here, and talking about savings first, okay, the concept is that we prioritize savings and we budget for savings, and it is one of the first things we do. And I'd even most people actually say that they, even before that, later in life, they actually wish they would have been able to give more. Okay? In the United States, we have this tremendous ability to earn and be productive and add to so much of our lives where other people in the world don't. We can take care of that if we actually budget for our giving in the beginning. And that's what I want to turn, as we talk about budgeting later, I'll bring this up again, is that, well, why don't we just flip that thing over and say, let's give, let's save, and then spend. And if businesses would do that in that order, then we wouldn't be saying these things at the end of life. It's like, I wish I could have given more, or I wish I would have given some. I'm a member of a church here in Worland, and we try to give at least the amount of our tithe of 10% each month, and that's at the top of the budget. That comes out before I do any spending at all. And I'm not trying to give you any holier than thou thing. We're very comfortable, and in a lot of ways, but I'm going to give that, whether or not any of the other things are actually applied to. Okay, you earn $100, you take 10% out of it, and you give it. That's the first spending of those dollars. You take the next 15% possibly, or a predetermined amount, and say it's 15%, and you earn $100, you send $10 to that charity that you've selected right off the top, right when you get it, and then it actually gets sent. We save the $15 out of there for savings, and then we use the rest. We build our budget around our spending for the rest. Okay? One of the things about human nature is we say, well, we want to give more, but we don't actually give until we get to the end of the month. And by that time, we've used up all the allocated money in those accounts that we're going to use for spending, and then it doesn't get done. And I want you to think about this. Does this happen to you? Maybe not. But for most people, it does. If we actually put those priorities in force, then it forces us to only spend so much. And you take care of your future, and you do the giving that you actually are thinking about doing, if we do it right from the beginning. All right? So hopefully you enjoy this guy. If you want to order the book, I think it is called Profit First. And Mike, he's has a long last name. You can take that down. It's a really good book. And if you want to dive deeper into the concepts that he approaches through this audio podcast, then I would order that. I would highly recommend it. And so hopefully you have some fun with it. I'm easing back a little bit this week and plan on having a little bit more due for next week, but hopefully you enjoy the enthusiasm and that this author actually brings to the table on using and prioritizing profits. Okay, it'll give you something to think about. And again, I have a short quiz and then a forum for you to fill out for this week, and we'll go from there. Enjoy it. Give me your judgments, your comments, your questions. I'm going to have a Zoom meeting on Monday of next week at 2 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, and then 6:30 on Wednesday. Please bring your questions. I've had a few questions like, do I have to go? No, you don't have to go. Somebody might ask a question that you hadn't thought of, so that's that. I always enjoy seeing you, and we'll try to. I'll come up with some questions for you if you don't have any. So not to put any pressure, but that's how we get to know each other. And I'd enjoy seeing your face too on Zoom if I can't see it any other place. All right, so over and out. Take care. Let me know if you need anything.